Have you ever wondered why some people seem to drain your energy or hold you back, even when they appear friendly? The truth is, one of the most crucial skills you can ever develop in life is not just judging whether you like someone, it's the deeper, often overlooked ability to truly discern character. I'm not talking about personal preference or gut feelings. Discernment goes far beyond simply liking or disliking someone. It's a skill rooted in careful observation and a profound understanding of human nature. Why? Because the harsh reality is this: not everyone you meet genuinely has your best interests at heart. It might sound blunt, but it's an unavoidable truth. Some people are outright malicious. Some thrive on deceit. Others manipulate you not because they're confused or lost, but because they actively feed on chaos and destruction. If you don't learn to spot these warning signs, you risk welcoming such toxic individuals into your life, mistaking them for friends, partners, or mentors. In reality, they're the very barriers standing between you and the person you're meant to become. You might be thinking, I want to believe in the goodness of people. I want to see the best in them. That's noble, even admirable, but it's also dangerously naive. Assuming the best without examining their actions is not wisdom, it's blind optimism. And blindness is costly. When you fail to see clearly, you fall into traps, get deceived, and before you know it, you're trapped in draining, demoralizing relationships or environments, sometimes broken entirely by them. So, how do you sharpen this awareness? How do you train yourself to identify those who don't have your best interests at heart? The first step is to pay real attention, not just to what people say, but to what they actually do. This is critical because words are cheap, talk is easy. Manipulative people are masters of deception through language. They will tell you exactly what you want to hear. They'll paint themselves as kind, generous, or wise, perfectly tailored to your hopes and needs. But here's the catch: if you watch closely, if you observe their actions instead of just listening to their words, cracks begin to appear in their carefully constructed facade. One of the most dependable warning signs of a toxic person is inconsistency. Their words and actions don't match. They promise loyalty but betray trust whenever it benefits them. They preach virtue but live in hypocrisy. They claim to support you, yet their behavior subtly or openly undermines you. What's worse, they don't want you to notice this gap. They depend on your distraction, your willingness to overlook the warning signs. They assume you won't be paying enough attention to catch their pattern. But if you cultivate awareness, if you learn to watch closely rather than just listen, once you see these contradictions, you can't unsee them. Another powerful test of character is how someone treats those who can do absolutely nothing for them. Anyone can be kind when there's something in it for them, but genuine character is revealed in how they treat the powerless, the waitress, the janitor, the stranger with no status or benefit to offer. Cruelty or disdain toward the powerless is a window into their soul. And that cruelty doesn't stay confined. It inevitably spills over into every aspect of their life. And if you get too close, you risk becoming a target. Now, let's talk about deception. Manipulation and deceit are the primary weapons these people wield to control others and get what they want without revealing their true intentions. The scary part? Many of them are highly skilled at it, having honed their craft over years, sometimes decades. If you're not vigilant, you'll fall for their tricks. One of the most common and dangerous manipulation tactics is gaslighting. You've probably heard the term, but here's the clear definition. Gaslighting is psychological warfare where someone twists your perception of reality, making you doubt your own judgment. When done successfully, it can leave you questioning your memories, feelings, and sanity. The manipulator paints themselves as the victim while they're the aggressor, convincing you that you're overreacting when you're responding appropriately. Over time, this erodes your trust in yourself, and when you can't trust yourself, you become lost. So, how do you protect yourself from deception? First, trust your instincts. If something feels off in any interaction, if what's said doesn't match what's happening, listen to that gut feeling. Don't dismiss it or rationalize it away. Your subconscious picks up on inconsistencies long before your conscious mind can explain them. Second, ask yourself, does this person make me feel confused? Honesty and straightforwardness bring clarity. You know where you stand. But manipulators leave a fog of confusion, shifting between warmth and coldness, praise and criticism. They make you second-guess yourself. Wonder if you're the problem. That confusion is deliberate. If you find yourself constantly doubting reality around someone, it's a huge red flag. Third, observe how they react when confronted with the truth. Genuine people admit mistakes. Manipulators never do. Instead, they deflect, shift blame, or twist the conversation until you seem to be at fault. Bring up a valid concern, and they respond with anger, guilt trips, or dismissiveness. That's not normal conflict, it's emotional manipulation. What should you do when you spot these behaviors? The answer is simple but not easy. Distance yourself. Set firm boundaries. Don't argue with those who refuse to respect truth because you won't win. You can't reason with people who don't care about honesty. And here's the most important thing to remember: you cannot change them. This is the trap many fall into, thinking that if they just love hard enough or explain clearly enough, things will change. They won't. People only change if they want to. And toxic manipulators thrive on the chaos they create. Your job isn't to fix them. It's to protect yourself and keep moving forward toward becoming the person you're meant to be. Building on the crucial need to protect yourself through awareness, let's now examine why surrounding yourself with the right people is absolutely essential. Your future, your success, and your happiness hinge directly on the company you keep. Allow toxic individuals, those who drain your energy rather than lift you up, into your inner circle, and you will inevitably pay a heavy price. So stay vigilant, sharpen your discernment, and above all, never ignore the subtle signals your gut is sending you. One of the most glaring warning signs of a truly toxic person is their complete refusal to accept responsibility for anything. This goes beyond everyday mistakes. It's a fundamental way they approach life. They never face reality head-on. Instead, they habitually shift blame outward. It's always someone else's fault. Failing to recognize this early on means risking years trapped in exhausting mind games with people who will never admit fault. Trust me, nothing drains your soul more than endless blame shifting. These toxic individuals rarely operate alone. They surround themselves with enablers, often kind-hearted people willing to shoulder their blame and carry their burdens. Deep down, toxic people know their illusion of control would collapse without this support. Interestingly, people with strong moral character frequently become targets for those who avoid accountability. But why? Why do manipulators gravitate toward honest, conscientious individuals? The answer is straightforward. Bad people need good people to survive. If you have integrity, believe in fairness, and seek the best in others, you become exactly the person a manipulator wants nearby. You'll make excuses for them, perhaps thinking, maybe they had a difficult childhood, or they just need time to change. Meanwhile, they use you as a shield to avoid facing reality. Now imagine the long-term effect of someone consistently refusing to take responsibility. What do they become? Resentful. And resentment is one of the most toxic emotional states imaginable. When you blame everyone else for your problems, you begin to see the world as unfair, even conspiratorial. Trapped in this mindset, destructive behaviors seem justified. Sabotaging relationships, destroying friendships, undermining colleagues, all because you believe life has treated you unjustly. The more you reject accountability, the worse your situation becomes. Life is hard enough when you own your mistakes, without responsibility. It becomes unbearable. Each time you dodge blame or refuse to learn, you lose control over your destiny. This victim mentality often manifests as complaints like, "I can't succeed because the system is rigged," or "I'm unhappy because others keep holding me down." What they don't see is that every time they say this, they reinforce their own helplessness, teaching themselves they have no control. Once you stop being the author of your own story, you become a puppet in someone else's narrative. Here's the hard truth. Toxic people want you to believe you have no control. They want you to blame fate, luck, or oppression, whatever excuse fits their agenda. But the moment you take responsibility for where you are and where you want to go, you become immune to their manipulation. You stop playing their game. How do you protect yourself? First, watch for patterns. If someone always has an excuse and never accepts fault, that's a glaring red flag. If every problem prompts them to blame others immediately, be cautious. They might soon make you their scapegoat. Second, hold people accountable. Don't let them rewrite history. If you notice someone twisting the truth or dodging responsibility, call it out. even quietly in your own mind. Otherwise, you risk doubting your own perceptions, which is exactly what manipulators want. Confusion and self-doubt make control easier. Finally, take full responsibility for your life. Don't wait for permission to succeed. Don't let others' excuses become your own. Because worse than dealing with someone who refuses responsibility is becoming that person yourself. If you're not careful, toxic influences can turn you into what you despise. Stay vigilant, recognize the signs, and never let someone else's refusal to own their actions drag you down. Now, consider another dangerous, often hidden trait: envy. It's a silent, corrosive force, lacking flashy warning signs. Instead, envy lurks quietly, sometimes disguised as a caring friend, helpful coworker, or even a loving family member. But beneath the surface, it's determined to tear you down. Destructive individuals are often consumed by envy. They can't stand to see you succeed or grow. To them, your progress highlights their own failures. This is where resentment becomes a weapon. Envy alone may be a bitter feeling, but resentment actively drives people to believe you don't deserve what you have, and if they can't have it, they want to see you lose it too. Have you ever shared a dream or goal, only to hear subtle doubts instead of encouragement? Comments like, "That's a tough field," "Are you sure you can do it?" or "Most people fail at that. I just don't want you to get disappointed." They speak as if protecting you, but in reality, they're trying to keep you small. They feel threatened by your rise and pull you back to where they feel safe. You might think, maybe they don't mean harm, maybe they're realistic. But ask yourself, would they say this to someone else? Would they react this way if it were their own success on the line? Understanding envy and resentment is key because these emotions poison relationships and chip away at your confidence and momentum. Spotting these traits early is part of cultivating the awareness that protects you from toxic people before they infiltrate your life. Continuing from our previous discussion about envy and resentment, let's explore more deeply what truly happens when envy takes root, and how it transforms from a quiet bitterness into active sabotage. The truth is, people who struggle with envy tend to follow a very predictable pattern. They discourage only those they secretly view as competition. They want to dim the light of anyone who threatens to outshine them. This isn't random negativity, it's a calculated response to protect their fragile self-worth. Now, paired with this is the core issue of accountability. As we've seen, toxic individuals never own up to their shortcomings. What does this lead to? Envy, when you refuse to accept responsibility for your failures or your lack of success. Your only option left is to blame others. And who becomes the target of this blame? Those who are actually succeeding, the people moving forward while they remain stuck. Instead of reflecting honestly, asking themselves, maybe I need to work harder, make smarter choices, or push myself further, they choose a different path. They tell themselves life isn't fair. They believe others had better opportunities or more luck. They convince themselves they don't deserve success. But have you ever wondered what happens when resentment grows so deep it no longer fits quietly inside? It leaks out. It spills over into words, actions, and relationships. That quiet envy morphs into sabotage. Sometimes it's subtle, passive-aggressive remarks, dismissive attitudes, or withholding support just when you need it most. Other times, it's blatant, spreading rumors, trying to discredit your achievements, or undermining you behind your back. The most dangerous part? If you're not careful, their envy can infect you. If you allow their doubts and negativity to plant seeds in your mind, you might start questioning yourself. Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I should stop trying so hard. Stop dreaming so big. Don't let that happen. That's exactly what they want. They want you to shrink, to stay small, because if you do, they don't have to confront their own failures. Their comfort lies in keeping others from rising. But now, let's flip the mirror back to you. Here's a question that might sting a little. Are you harboring envy toward others? Do you secretly resent someone else's success? If the answer is yes, you must address it right now. Envy is poison. Left unchecked, it destroys you from the inside out. The right response when you see someone else succeed isn't bitterness or resentment, it's curiosity and learning. Instead of asking, why them and not me? Ask yourself, what did they do that I haven't? Rather than tearing others down, observe their habits, mindset, and work ethic. Use their success as inspiration to fuel your own growth, not as a source of bitterness. And if you find yourself surrounded by envious people, those who subtly or openly resent your progress, you have a crucial choice. Will you let them drag you down? Or will you rise above and create distance? There is no middle ground. Spend enough time near those who resent success, and you'll absorb their mindset. That's the fastest way to sabotage your own potential. Remember, as we said earlier, toxic people rarely come with warning labels. But if you pay attention, if you develop awareness, you'll start to notice patterns. You'll learn to recognize who genuinely supports you, and who secretly wishes to see you fail. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Recognizing envy for what it truly is, a reflection of someone else's insecurity, not a measure of your worth, takes away its power. You stop seeking approval from those who don't want you to succeed. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. And most importantly, you stop feeling guilty for outgrowing those who refuse to grow themselves. Because at the end of the day, your success isn't about them, it's about you. It's about your capabilities and how far you're willing to push yourself. If someone else can't handle that, that's their problem, not yours. But don't let their resentment become your limitation. Too much is at stake, and you have too much potential to waste trying to appease people who will never cheer for you. I'm not talking about someone who occasionally struggles to see things from another perspective, we all do. I mean someone who fundamentally doesn't care about the impact of their actions on others. Someone who, when you're suffering, either sees it as irrelevant or worse, as an opportunity. You need to recognize this clearly. If you don't, you risk making excuses for their behavior, thinking you can change them, or worse, believing that their mistreatment of you is somehow deserved. Let's bring this back to our bigger picture. Earlier, we talked about awareness and spotting warning signs. This is one of the most important, because if you fail to recognize someone's lack of empathy, you leave yourself open to serious psychological harm. People without empathy don't just accidentally hurt others, they do it systematically, without remorse, and often in ways that aren't obvious right away. How does this happen? It ties back to manipulation and deception. A person who lacks empathy is often a master manipulator. Why? Because they don't feel the moral responsibility that you do. They don't experience guilt or shame like decent people. If they lie and you catch them, they don't feel bad. They live by a different psychological rulebook. They'll twist reality, not just to protect themselves, but to control you. Have you ever had someone make you doubt your own emotions or reactions? You say, "That really hurt me," and they look at you like you're crazy or the problem for even bringing it up. That's a tactic. It's designed to make sure you never stand up for yourself. Because the moment you start doubting your feelings and your perception of reality, you become easier to control. And if they control your emotions, they control your actions. Next, think about accountability again. Why do they refuse to take responsibility? If you lack empathy, you don't care about how your actions affect others. If you hurt someone and they tell you, but you feel no guilt, why would you admit fault? Instead, you deflect blame. You say, "You're too sensitive," or "That's not what I meant," or "Why are you always so dramatic?" See the pattern? This mindset is dangerous. Accountability is what allows growth. Without admitting mistakes, you stagnate, or worse, sink deeper into malevolence. That's when envy and resentment tighten their grip. Finally, envy and resentment are two sides of the same toxic coin. People without empathy often harbor deep resentment because they blame others for their failures. When you blame others, you begin to resent their success, their happiness, and their ability to form genuine connections. This toxic cycle doesn't just destroy their lives, it poisons everyone around them. Have you ever met someone who couldn't be happy for you? Who, whenever you achieve something great, downplays it, or worse, makes you feel guilty for it? That's resentment in action. That's someone who sees your success as a threat rather than a blessing. Picking up where we left off about resentment and sabotage, let's face a painful truth. Often, the people who try hardest to hold you back are the ones closest to you, your friends, family, even colleagues. The very people you expect to cheer for your success can sometimes be the ones most threatened by it. Why is that? Because, harsh as it sounds, some would rather see you fail than admit to themselves that they haven't achieved their own dreams. Now, This all circles back to empathy, or rather, the lack of it. When someone lacks empathy, they don't just harbor resentment quietly, they act on it. They actively seek ways to sabotage you. Sometimes their attacks are subtle, little comments designed to make you doubt yourself, to plant seeds of insecurity. Other times, they're more overt, spreading rumors, stealing credit for your work, or even turning others against you. What makes this truly terrifying is that because they lack empathy, these people often don't even see a problem with their behavior. In their minds, they are justified. They convince themselves that you deserve to be knocked down a peg, that you owe them somehow, that their feelings of inadequacy are somehow your fault. You might be thinking, okay, I understand now that there are toxic people out there, but what can I do about it? That brings us to the final, most crucial point: protecting yourself. Because if you don't, these people will drain you. They'll steal your time, your energy, and your confidence. They'll make you feel smaller just to feel bigger themselves, and that is something you simply cannot allow. So, what's the first step? It's simple but incredibly hard. You have to be willing to walk away. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. Stop seeking their approval. Stop hoping they'll change, because they won't, at least not unless they choose to. And people like this rarely do. If someone repeatedly shows they lack empathy, refuses to take responsibility, and resents your success, believe them. Believe it with every fiber of your being. And once you do, and you make the conscious choice to distance yourself from toxic people, something remarkable happens. You start attracting better people. People who lift you up instead of tearing you down. People who celebrate your wins instead of resenting them. People who take ownership of their own lives instead of blaming you for theirs. That's where real transformation begins. Because when you surround yourself with strong, motivated, kind individuals, you become one of them. All the energy you used to waste trying to fix broken people suddenly gets redirected into building your own life, your own dreams. But don't be mistaken, this journey isn't easy. It demands courage. It demands self-respect. For a while, it may mean enduring loneliness, feeling the sting of cutting ties. But in that space, something new will grow, something better. And in the end, that's the ultimate lesson. Your life is too short. Your potential too vast, to waste on people who don't truly care about you. So be ruthless with your boundaries. Be disciplined with your energy. And above all, be unwavering in your commitment to becoming the very best version of yourself.